8 down, 2 to go. Welcome back to my personal, opinionated, very my own Game of the Year 2010 Top 10 Countdown. What is up, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and we are ready to reveal game number 2. I wanted to quickly address the fact that these games are my own personal choices. I am not in any way saying that these are officially the best games of 2012. Like, there is no secret metrics or secret rules or magic formula that goes into equating which games are better. And if you happen to enjoy my number 8 choice as your number 1 choice, or you thought my number 3 choice was a complete piece of crap, that doesn't invalidate it, it just makes it my opinion. And that's why this is called Ghost Robo's Best Games of 2012. My personal list, I've made that abundantly clear like 5 or 6 times throughout these videos, that they're my opinions, and therefore it isn't choice by committee. It isn't the magazine's, top reviewed games of 2012. It's not even the games that I necessarily gushed about the most during walkthroughs. It's at the end of the year the games I felt were my personal top 10. Without further ado, number 2 is ZombiU. This game hit me out of nowhere faster than anything. I had played this once at E3 and again at PAX, and I thought it was really cool at E3 and really crappy at PAX. I had no idea how the final product would turn out. I was very excited to grab a Wii U on launch day, and I had no idea what game would hold my interest out of that lineup. New Super Mario Bros. U, an okay game. ZombiU is an absolute freaking fantastic achievement for a console launch game, and definitely my favorite console launch game of the last couple. Better than anything I played on Xbox 360, on PlayStation 3, and probably dating back to GameCube and PS2 and original Xbox. This game does a whole lot right, and the first thing it does very right is it makes the combat and the setting feel intimate. We talked about this with The Walking Dead, developing a very true connection between player and game, and ZombiU achieves that through different means. It achieves it through a very consistent, dreary, and mesmerizing in a way scenery and setting. That world is just pure drudgery. It is dark constantly. It is the dead of night constantly. There are creepy zombies everywhere constantly. And while it does have elements of an open world, it perfectly straddles the line between linearity and freedom, giving you an environment that is both big and also guided. It's pure perfection in that sense. I would have liked to see more variety from the weapons, more variety from, especially melee. You're limited to this cricket bat, and I thought you would be upgrading that throughout the game. I thought you'd be getting an axe, or maybe a baseball bat, or a police club, or something, but you're stuck with that. And while it does allow you to become very familiar with Mr. Cricket Bat, I found the combat to not really evolve. The same techniques and the same strategies worked for nearly the entirety of the game. Sure, some enemies have gas tanks on their back and you need to deal with them slightly differently, but for the most part, your strategies were the same. What I did supremely appreciate, though, was the ferocity of each enemy. You really felt like one guy could take you down if you weren't careful. I liked the feeling of truly immersing yourself within this zombie apocalypse. Left 4 Dead is a fantastic game. I love Left 4 Dead 2 just as much, and those both really simulate a certain kind of zombie apocalypse, one where you are an overpowered crazy person running through with a group of your friends, destroying all the zombies, and they come at you in hordes, and each individual zombie holds no true merit. It is the group of them that brings the scares. ZombiU takes the opposite approach, which is that every zombie is terrifying in a zombie apocalypse, and I think for a story-driven game, and one that is meant to elicit fear and emotion, this is far more successful. It took great advantage of the Wii U's new features, using the Wii U gamepad for just enough but not too much. It was used as the backpack, it was used as a map. 2 great implementations for that Wii U gamepad, but nothing really that gimmicky. You weren't swiping on the touchscreen to, take down a zombie. You weren't doing stupid puzzles by, holding different points on the touchscreen. It didn't get goofy. But it took advantage of what it could that was new within the Wii U, and really kind of showcased, hey, if we're going to make a AAA game for the Wii U, and we want it to be better than its Xbox 360 counterpart, or its PS3 counterpart, or if we're going to make an entirely new game for the Wii U, here are some things we can do to set it on an upper echelon above what we've come to expect from modern generation games. And I think that is probably ZombiU's biggest success, along with creating just a darn great atmosphere. I really like the Spoked world, how it was not a level-based game in the sense of, you pick and choose your levels, but here was this area, and here was that area. There was the the neighborhood, and then you went over to the gas station, and then you went to the church. And so there were landmarks that kind of defined your chunks of time. This half hour was spent in the school, and this half hour was spent there. But it all felt connected, and it just, again, it made the perfect balance between open-ended enough to feel like, okay, we got to do some traversal and navigating. They nicely included a fast travel system, really blending that whole world together, and that's why I felt like it was a very genuine world. Now, there definitely were some technical glitches. I ran into quite a few of goof-ups and bump-ups, and there was definitely some things that they did not execute on perfectly. I thought that the guidance of the waypoints was pretty abysmal. You didn't have them at some points. Sometimes they were way off in the distance. Sometimes it led you into the most obtuse direction. And I also really felt that the way in which, you kind of felt like it just wasn't fully there. Like, they could have used an extra 6 months. And that's the sense that you get from a lot of launch games, was, hey, if they had a couple extra months, this could be way more polished. But I don't think that takes away from the very fun mechanics of combat, which we haven't even touched on yet, that the encounters with both gun and melee weapon felt really cool and really good. Like, you felt like you were really dealing damage. I loved how every time you attack a guy, your character would scream, and I loved how they varied up the characters. When you die, you were brought back as a new survivor, and it really, really cemented the fact that, hey, this is a full world. This isn't just, Magic Man dying and recovering every 5 seconds when you die and he magically gets back up and restarts at the beginning of the, the chapter. It was much more like, oh my god, there's a zombie apocalypse and this group of survivors who don't even know each other, all have this same collective goal, and who is going to be the one to make it through. And so, if John would get halfway through the game and die, then Carla would come and she'd pick up his progress. And if she died right away, then Sean would come in and continue from there. It did not reset the world in the way that Dark Souls did, but it borrowed something from that in the sense that it was a very, I don't want to say trial and error because that seems too negative, but, make a push and then maybe have a setback and then find a new way to make a push forward and then maybe have a setback. And I think that's a very interesting mode of game design that has sort of brought the spark of roguelikes back into focus lately. You find those on iPhone, you find them on PC as something very interesting where you get as far as you can, die, and then take that knowledge with you to the next attempt. And that was something that ZombiU brought into mainstream, like, typical action game and allowed for ZombiU to be more than just generic third-person or first-person launch title, shooter game. It could have easily been there. They could have easily made Call of Duty or Resident Evil with just bad, boring gameplay, and instead they invented a little bit. And I think that, speaking of Resident Evil, this is a far better zombie survival horror game than Resident Evil 6, and really kind of, for me, helped lick the wounds that Resident Evil 6 inflicted upon my poor body, because that game sucked. I would not remotely dare to put that game anywhere near my Game of the Year list, and of course that's my personal opinion, but ZombiU for me was the true Resident Evil of 2012, and I think overall just created a very enjoyable experience. It was tense, it was fun. Yeah, there were some frustrating moments with some technical issues, but for the most part, it was very, very well done. Mechanically, I found it sound. Story-wise, I found it okay, but enough to push me forward, and really it was some of those new features that we haven't seen in a first-person shooter where, you're going and collecting back your equipment that you acquired and, making sure you kill the other survivors. They implemented the online aspect nicely by placing other dead survivors in your game, so you could kill them before they killed themselves, basically, and get all of their loot from them, which I thought was genius. And sometimes if you tried to battle it up with one of those guys, you would end up losing all of your stuff, and it created quite a few interesting moments. It's one of the most moment-friendly games of the year, and I think that, for me, is something that really ups a game's ranking on my list. Is, does it have moments that I go, wow, I remember that. That was very specific and very fun and very defined and very good, and how many great moments can a game give you? If it's just doing the status quo and it has a pretty good storyline and it's got good characters, and that doesn't do it enough for me. I need the game to give me something, a wow moment, a really awesome moment, if it's going to be placed up there in my Game of the Year list. So that is definitely why I fully recommend ZombiU. I think it's a system seller at this point. I don't know that I can fully recommend Wii U, but we won't get into that in this video. What we will get into is that number 2 Game of the Year 2012 for me, Ghost Robo, is ZombiU. Guys and girls, we have one final game left, and I bet that most of you have no clue what is coming next. I will be doing some honorable mentions for those of you who are concerned or confused or wondering what I thought of a couple other games, I think I have 4 or 5 that will fit into that category of honorable mentions, so I will be placing those in a subsequent video, so you can see what I thought of games that were probably, numbers 11 through 15, 16, around there. I do want to remind you again that these opinions are mine and mine alone, and it's okay if you don't share them, but please keep things friendly in the comments section below. Love to hear your thoughts. Love for you to let me know if you enjoyed the video. I will see you guys soon. We'll be back with the last number 1 title, Game of the Year 2012. This was a very, 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 very tricky top 3, 4, 5 to choose, but I feel good about what I picked, and I'm very glad to see a wide variety of games. The strange part is that zombies have capsulated the last 2 videos. Will zombies capsulate the third? I don't even know if that's possible, but what is number 1? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the video, and let me know what you think of ZombiU. Fantastic game, one of my favorite series I've ever done on YouTube. Definitely my favorite walkthrough series of 2012 for my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Drink some hot chocolate. Until next time when we reveal number 1, we will see you all later.